Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Today we will be discussing from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, text 56. Dukkheshu anudvignamana Sukheshu vigata spruhaha Vitaraga bhayakrodaha Sthitadhir muniruchyate. Now Krishna is answering the questions posed by Arjuna regarding how to identify a self-realized soul. What are the symptoms of such a person? Arjuna used the words Sthita Pragna, Samadhistasya, and Sthitadihi. So Krishna answered the question about Sthita Pragna in the previous verse. One who gives up all kinds of mentally concocted desires and takes satisfaction in serving Krishna, in satisfying the desires of Krishna. That person is Sthita Pragna. And now who is a Sthitadhihi? Now Krishna explains that. Who is a Sthitadhir Munihi? Dukkheshu anudvigna manaha. Such a person in the middle of dukkha, dukkheshu anudvigna manaha. Udvigna means anxiety. Anudvigna manaha means he does not become agitated in the middle of difficulties. Dukkheshu anudvigna manaha. Sukheshu vigata spruhaha. In the middle of happiness, if happiness comes, he is not so carried away. Vigata spruhaha. He becomes a little detached, sober. And vitaraga bhayakrodhaha. He becomes freed from vita and raga, attachment and aversion. Why? Because Prabhupada writes very nicely. See, we are usually influenced by some attachment, accepting things for our own sense gratification. Everything we are attached to things only if it gives satisfaction to our senses. And detachment means if we don't like that, we become detached from it. So both are equally bad, as long as it is on the material platform. Like Arjuna, in the classic example in Bhagavad Gita, he became attached to peace. Why? He didn't want to hurt his family members. For whatever reason, for his own reasons, for his own sense gratificatory reasons. He considered their bodies as his own, or they belong to him. Swadhihi kalatradishu bhauma ijjadhihi. One considers one's body as himself, and bodily extensions and relatives are also his. These are all called sense gratificatory things. So for that purpose, he became attached to not fighting. So for some people, some kings may get attached to fighting to grab some kingdom. So either attaching for something, or in Arjuna's case, detached from fighting. It is both bad as long as they are for sense gratification. But here Prabhupada says, for the service of the Lord, the devotee is always daring and active and is not influenced by attachment or aversion. If the Lord likes, I will do that service. Like one devotee was saying, they were cultivating George Harrison, the one of the prominent members of one of the greatest rock bands ever, Beatles, in 1960s, late 60s. So Shyam Sundar Prabhu, he was in touch with George Harrison and he was in good terms with him, friendly, and he was giving them Krishna consciousness. And George Harrison was also becoming very interested. But Prabhupada wanted to publish this Krishna book, a very important aspect of our Krishna consciousness movement. It summarizes the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, very important book. And Prabhupada wanted Shyam Sundar to ask the initial capital for publishing this book to George. They needed $19,000. But Shyam Sundar Prabhu suggested, no, Prabhupada, our relation will be spoiled. He will think we are like talking to him and being in good terms with him just to extract some money. So he said, that's not a good idea. He didn't like that idea. But Prabhupada said, no, we are asking genuinely. It's Krishna's work. You blame it on me. Make me a bad cop. Swamiji wanted this. And Shyam Sundar Prabhu, out of reluctance, he accepted it. He accepted it nevertheless. And he went, and gradually, at the end of the day, they were having this dinner. And suddenly Shyam Sundar Prabhu slowly brought this up, and the look on George Harrison's face was bemusing. And Shyam Sundar Prabhu's in mind, he was thinking all kinds of things. Oh my God, now he starts to think we are also one of these people who want to make some money out of these rich people and all of that. All kinds of thoughts are going. But George Harrison, he was about to say something, and then suddenly the lights go off. Huge thunder and lightning strikes, and the whole house becomes dark for a minute or so. And then they all become a little scared. What's happening? And then suddenly the lights come on, and then George Harrison becomes pleasant, smiles, and then asks, how much do you need? And immediately he arranges that money very gladly to be of help to the movement. And the rest, as they say, is history. How Krishna book has become one of the most important literatures of our movement. So the point I'm trying to explain is that personally, we may be attached or detached to doing something. Oh, maybe this is good, this is not good. My own calculation. But when Krishna asks, when the spiritual master asks, there is no need for attachment or aversion. Raga, we should not have raga means attachment, or vitaraga means without attachment, which is detachment. So either attachment or detachment one should give up. So Prabhupada says, one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment or detachment because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. So Vita Raga and Bhaya, Vita Bhaya also. Consequently, he is not at all angry even when his attempts are unsuccessful. See, if something I want for my own self, if that doesn't happen, I become very upset, isn't it? Very upset, very angry. But because you are doing it for the service of the Lord, it is the Lord's worry, not your worry. Of course, we should do all it takes to achieve that particular task that is given to us. But having done our best, we should not become angry if our attempt becomes externally unsuccessful. Success or not success, it is the Lord's prerogative. I was once seeing a game of, it's not a chess actually, it is probably checkers or some game where it's a very interesting game, the board game, where you jump over one coin and you get to take the other person's coin, and you can jump sideways, straight, and all of that, back, and all of that. So these two players were playing, and say let's say X and Y. So this player X, he kept on losing all his pawns because this Y seemed to be very intelligent. He's moving this way and he's grabbing this pawn. He's moving that way, he's grabbing that pawn. And this X kept on playing, but one thing he was doing constantly, he kept on moving one pawn straight, which is far away from any of the other pawns which are getting consumed. And so this Y, he did not observe this, he did not focus much on this pawn, which was making its forward movement. And so Y has taken away all the other pawns, but this pawn has made all the way to the end. So the rule of the game is that once the pawn gets to the end, he gets extra powers. He can jump in the straight line, not just one step, he can jump multiple steps. And now with just that one pawn, this X, the player X, started to jump over everything, and in one go he finished all the other pawns of the opponent and he won with just one pawn. So what I am saying is that Krishna is playing this game. We are the instruments. And Krishna knows how to achieve success eventually, even with one pawn. And if we face any difficulties in life, in the service of the Lord, if we face setbacks or defeats, they are all the temporary setbacks. Krishna is moving that pawn. We are making progress. And when we make the ultimate progress, that is our success. By enriching our Krishna consciousness, we can overcome eventually. When we have that labdhva chaparam labham manyatena adhikam tataha, when our progress reaches the end, when we attain Krishna consciousness, nobody can defeat us. We become victorious. So there is no need to become angry if our attempts become successful. It's just part of the game that Krishna is playing with us for achieving his mission in this world. So Vita, Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. Krodha means anger. Bhaya means fear. I might have told anger. Bhaya means fear. The person in Krishna consciousness does not become angry, does not become fearful. He is detached from attachment and so-called detachment because he is attached to only service of the Lord. So this is called Stitadhir Munir Uchyate. A person, a Krishna conscious person is always steady, Stitadhihi, steady in his determination for serving the Lord. So this is a beautiful verse which encapsulates the attitude of a self-realized person in life. He's not moved or he's not disturbed when there is dukkha. He's not carried away when there is success or happiness. And he's freed from attachment, detachment, fear, and anger. That is a person Krishna is terming as Stitadhihi, Stitadhir Munihi. So there was one devotee and there was a companion. They were going in the forest. So they lost their way. So this companion, so he became a little despaired. Oh, we lost our way. But the devotee said, maybe some good will come out of this. So he didn't become disturbed. Dukkheshu anudvigna manaha. He remembered that instruction. Oh, maybe this is meant for my purification, my good. Maybe, who knows? This is also mercy of the Lord. And then this companion became upset. Why are you saying this? We are actually undergoing distress. And then suddenly they came upon a stranger. He needed some help. He was struggling and they gave him water and all of that. And then that stranger turned out to be a prince who was struggling in the forest for hunger and thirst, and he fell down almost unconscious. He lost his way. And then the prince became very happy. He got them back. They all came back in the on the horse. And he actually gave them as a gift this beautiful horse and a lot of riches. And then this companion said, "Oh yeah, you're actually good. What you said is right." And then when they went back home, the neighbors praised the devotees. Good luck. And he said, "How blessed you are to have such a beautiful horse." And the devotee said, "Who is to say whether this is a blessing or a curse?" So Sukeshu Vigata Spruhaha. In the middle of happiness, he became very alert. He didn't get carried away. And as he predicted, the next day the horse ran away. And the neighbor said, "Oh, how horrible that you are cursed with the loss of your horse." And then the devotee again said, "Who is to say whether this is a curse or a blessing? Perhaps some good will come out of it." The next day the horse returned. Along with it, it came with 5 horses. And the neighbor said, "Oh, yes, you are right. The curse was a blessing in disguise. Now you are blessed with 6 horses, not just 1 horse." Again, the devotee said, "Oh, perhaps, who is to say whether this is a blessing or a curse?" And the next day, his only son tried to ride one of these wild horses that was brought, and he was thrown to the ground and broke his leg. And the neighbors came again and said, "Oh, how wise you are. Your blessing was really a curse." And the devotee said, "Oh, who is to say whether this is a curse or a blessing?" And the next day, some soldiers came through the village and took every able-bodied boy, because there is a war and they want everybody to fight in the war. And this boy was spared because he broke his leg. He's not fit for fighting. And so then the neighbors wondered, "Yes, you're right. It's for his good. How blessed you are to have your son." And then the devotee said, "Who is to say?" Like that, this material world is like the waves. Sometimes going up, we become elated. Sometimes there is distress. You should always remember, when there are good days, bad days are bound to come. When there are bad days, very importantly, we should remember that too shall pass. Good days are bound to come. So one should not become so carried away in either cases. One should become fixed up in the service of the Lord, thinking, this material world, sometimes there is happiness, sometimes there is distress. Sometimes people lift you to the top of the world. The same set of people can throw you down also. So one should not become carried away. A Stitadhir Muni, he does not resort to this kind of temporary upheavals or temporary successes. So in the purport, Prabhupada also talks about what is the meaning of a Muni. Krishna is using the word Muni. What is the meaning of Muni? Because we all keep hearing that word. Muni means a sage who may even practice Mauna Vrata. Actually, that both are related, Muni and Mauna. A Muni is supposed to practice Mauna. Mauna does not mean literally not speaking. Mauna means he remains silent in material talks, in the material world. He's not active discussing politics, discussing anything mundane, but he's active talking about spirituality. That is actual Mauna. So these Munis, they do lot of mana speculation. Muni also refers to man. They do lot of thinking and speculation in the mind. They're active in the mind. They may not be active literally with their mouth, but they're active in the mind. So it is said that by definition, a Muni must come with a theory of his own, a philosophy of his own. Just like a PhD person has to show a research of his own, very unique research he has to show, only then he is given a PhD. So similarly, by strict definition, Muni means he has to come with his own philosophy about life by mentally agitating his mind and coming up with some kind of philosophy. So Nasa Rishir Yasya Matam na Bhinnam. Therefore it is said, he is not called a Rishi or a Muni, Yasya Matam na Bhinnam, unless he differs from other Munis about some viewpoint. That means they are all mentally speculating. So Muni means always mentally speculating. But Sthitadhir Muni is not like that. Sthitadhir Muni means all kinds of speculation, all kinds of analysis is given away. A real Sthitadhir Muni is always in Krishna consciousness. He has exhausted all business of creative speculation. He has surpassed the stage of mental speculation. He has come to the conclusion that Lord Sri Krishna or Vasudeva is everything. Vasudeva sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabha. Very rare. He is called a Muni fixed in mind. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of threefold miseries. When dukkha comes, he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. This is true. Actually, when one becomes Krishna conscious, Krishna takes charge of the devotee, and even if so-called miseries come, one should think, and it's actually truth, that only because of Krishna's mercy, he is giving me a token of this suffering that I should have experienced. Out of causeless mercy, Krishna has minimized my suffering. That's what one should think. Like Sudama, he was the Lord's associate, eternal associate. But he became very poor. He was very poor Brahmana. But he never complained. In spite of utter poverty, unable to even eat properly. But he was never agitated. His mind was never diverted from Krishna. And only upon instigation from his wife, insistence to please his wife, he went and he didn't even ask Krishna. He felt embarrassed to give those chipped rice to Krishna. To even ask Krishna, he felt ashamed. He didn't even ask Krishna. But Krishna, he satisfied all his wishes. His wife's wishes, he was indifferent. Sudama didn't bother. But just to show his wife that one who takes to Krishna consciousness, materially also he is rich. Even though sometimes a devotee may not appear to be rich, maybe in utter poverty, like Sudama. But Krishna wants to show to others that don't think that my devotee is devoid of material happiness. It's just that the devotee does not want to do with anything material because he thinks anything material will deviate him from his path of Krishna consciousness. That's why Krishna also does not give them. But it is said in Shastra that if the devotee wants some material happiness, Krishna will give him abundant happiness. But an intelligent person, he considers why I should pave obstacle in my path back to Godhead by asking Krishna something which is not conducive for my Krishna consciousness. So he does not ask. So he prefers to be in misery. Why? Because misery is more helpful for him to think of Krishna, isn't it? Like Queen Kunti, in one of the most extraordinary prayers and desires, she wishes, let more misery come to me. Can anyone wish like that? Let vipada after vipada come to me. Danger after danger, let it come to me. Vipadaha santutaha shashvat tatra tatra jagadguro bhavato darshanam yatsyat apunar bhava darshanam. She's praying, let that vipada, the dangers keep coming to us, because only then, every time we have a danger, we always think of you. And then you come to us. Bhavato darshanam yatsyat. Because of this vipada, we always keep seeing you. And seeing you means apunar bhava darshanam. There is no bhava darshanam. Bhava means this material existence. Seeing Krishna means there is cessation of material existence. So we can choose what we want. Krishna can give everything. Similarly, Sukheshu Vigata Spruhaha, one who is not elated, carried away by happiness. So often we see people when they have big reasons to be happy, like buying a new car or a new apartment, new house, new job. They tend to throw a party to celebrate their happiness with their dear ones. But how many are there who actually thank God for showering His blessings? Who thank Krishna for giving them that position? There is a proverb in Hindi. They say, Sukh ghut ghut ke piyo. Means happiness should be digested drop by drop so that one does not get intoxicated by the happiness. One might forget God. The two sons of Kuvera, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they were demigods. They forgot intoxication, their position, and they got cursed. Of course, that was also mercy of the Lord. So in this way, one should not become carried away in sukha and not become anxious and agitated in dukkha, and fixed in the service of the Lord without attachment or aversion. One should not become angry at our any unsuccess in our course of our duties. And that is called Sitadhir Munihi, a sage of steady determination. So I'll stop here. Anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to unmute yourself. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari.